Hey everybody, Leah Klett here, and I'm so excited today to be joined by actor and producer Chris Pratt. He recently partnered with a prayer app Hollow for their annual Lenten challenge. Hi, I just turned off your Instagram live with Jonathan.
Oh, you did? Nice. There you go.
It was cool to watch you guys together. I talk to Jonathan all the time, and then I'm like, oh, it's really cool.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was fun. Him doing that, him reading that gospel at the end. I was like, oh, he's so good. Like he does the voice. The voice is such so good.
So good. Well, hey, I listened to Mouse Rat this morning to get ready to get hyped
Wow.
for this interview.
There
Yeah.
you go. Wow, that's deep research. Nice
It
work.
was. And I could really tell that, Scott Stapp influence, especially on the pit. So
Ah, you saw that. You felt that, huh? Yes. I call it 90s butt rock voice. That was like Andy's. That was Andy's voice. Yeah, that's it.
it was amazing. And more importantly, my 6-year-old was like, Mom, you're talking to Star Lord this morning.
Let's
Very
go.
excited. So
Nice.
I'm very excited to talk to a superhero and a 90s icon.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. What's your 6-year-old's name?
Judah.
Judah. Oh, beautiful. Tell Judah I say hello. That's amazing.
I will. I will. Well, Chris, I'm so excited to talk to you because I've followed your career for years, and it's been so fun to see how you're so outspoken about your faith, but you're also such a huge star in Hollywood. Um,
Ah,
but I feel like this your partnership with Hollow kind of takes it a step further. So
hmm
take me back to why you wanted to be involved with Hollow and really especially this Lenten prayer challenge. And hey, it's Ash Wednesday. So
It
what
is.
a perfect day for this interview.
That's right. Exactly. Well, yeah, I guess to take it back to why I wanted to join up with Hallow, a couple of years ago, I was doing a movie and I was shooting in Atlanta, so I was on location half the week, and so I was going back and forth every week. At the time I had 3 kids. Now I have 4, but it's tough to be away, and so I was feeling lonely. I love book on tape, and so I was listening to a lot of books on tape and trying to like kind of grow in my faith journey. And I realized, or I was like, I wonder if there's a good reading of the Bible that because I had never gone through the entire Bible. Of course, I'm reading scriptures and read through the Gospels, but you get through the Deuteronomy, the Book of Numbers, and Leviticus, and parts of Exodus, and sort of the Chronicles and Judges, and you're like, that's hard to read. That's hard reading. To sit down and read that, my brain starts wandering 4 seconds in, and it's like I could never do it. So I knew that that's kind of always the case when I'm reading stuff, just opening a book and reading. But when I hear it, it's a little different for me. I'm just like someone who is like an auditory learner, and I can comprehend more. So, anyways, in my quest to find some sort of book on tape version of the Bible, I found myself on Hallow's Bible in a Year podcast. And so essentially it's 365 days of the book. It's the deuterocanonical text, so it's the Catholic Adventure Bible. So they do have some additional texts in there, the first and second Maccabees, Book of Judith, the Wisdoms, and a couple of other books in there. And but essentially, yeah, it starts at Genesis and goes all the way through Revelation, and it takes 365 days. And I did it. I did the whole thing, and so I have like a deeper, more comprehensive understanding of the Bible. It totally strengthened my walk with Jesus. It was amazing, and so I just know I always feel like I'm a good like test group for your kind of average American in terms of like the things that I like, my pop culture that I like to consume, the entertainment that I like. And I know a lot of like my friends love book on tape, but also don't really have the bandwidth or they're a little too ADD to read, kind of like I am. And so I thought if I partner with Hallow, maybe it'd be an opportunity to sort of amplify what is ultimately a really beautiful thing, this Bible in Your podcast, but also the other various uh, prayers and meditations, challenges, and different things. So it's like I thought it'd be a good partnership.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you're partnering too with Jonathan Rumi from The Chosen, obviously, and Mark Wahlberg. Do you watch The Chosen? Are you a fan of The
Yes.
Chosen?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. It's so good. And it's I love it because I feel like every version, you go back to like, the Ten Commandments, there's some like great movies, Passion of the Christ. There's a lot of great swings at telling the Jesus story set in the sword and sandals world of Israel 2,000 years ago. And there's a lot of really bad versions too. Like, it's all the messaging is always great, but it's like, like sometimes pop culture or, Christian entertainment, it's really leveled up over the past probably couple of decades for sure. Certainly the music has, and now the content. I mean, Jonathan Rumi is amazing, and I think all of the acting and the set design and the production value, the storytelling, the authenticity. I'm really captivated by it. It took me a long time. I was a late convert. I started watching it with my son, and we love it. It's fantastic. I'm not fully caught up, but I know how it ends, but yeah, I read the book. I had
Well,
the book read to me.
well, it was so cool to just hear Jonathan read scripture. We were just talking about that. In your own life, are there any scriptures or Bible passages that specifically speak to you, especially in this season of your life?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Proverbs 27:17, uh, you know, um, I Matthew 5:14, you are the light of the world. We were talking a little bit about Mark 9 about fasting. Um, like iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. For lack of wood, the fire will go out. Where there is no whisper or quarreling ceases. Those are two in Proverbs that really I find I lean on a lot and I give to a lot of people that are in my life. Like, especially I'm getting it mixed up. For lack of wood, the fire will go out. Is that Proverbs 27:17 or is 27:17 it's like iron sharpens iron? Um, anyways, Philippians 4:13. I think you know the biggest one is probably in this season would be Matthew 5:14 because it really feels like being a light in this world and not putting a bushel basket over a light. A city on a hill cannot be hidden, and I'm being called to be that city on the hill at this moment in my life. I feel like it's you take a risk, I think, being in the entertainment world, being vocal about anything, and that's divisive. And religion is divisive, and so is politics. And so, like, I don't care enough about politics to take a stand one way or another, at the expense of my career. But I do care enough about Jesus to take a stand, even if it costs me. If it costs me everything, I don't care. It's worth it to me because it's what I'm called to do. It's where my heart is. I'm a father of four. I want to raise my children up in with an understanding that their dad was unashamed of his faith in Jesus and with a profound understanding of the power of prayer and the grace and the love and the joy that can come from a relationship with Jesus. That's something that's really important to me. And anybody really close to me knows that already. But as people are learning that about me, it's an interesting thing because you don't hear that a lot from people in entertainment, but it's who I am. And I don't think, I'm not going to hide behind it. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. So get back to Matthew 5:14. That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I have four kids too. And I always say, our greatest responsibility as parents is to raise kids who know and love the Lord. And a lot of
Mhm.
people can feel like culture doesn't support us in that. If anything, it's like constantly pressing against us.
You're right. It is. It's the world. That's the world, though, right? That's the world. The world. We teach like I want to teach my kids to be in it, not of it, when it comes to the world. This is not. This is like we're in a strange time right now with the way that the world is, and I don't know if it's. I assume it's always been some version of evil and wrong and worldly and right now we just have such unfettered access to all of the knowledge in the world. And it says like, he who increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. And our phones tell us everything that's going on. Like it just whisper into our ears. It's like we have an entire generation of young kids who are being raised to be incredibly anxious. And I think the smartphone has been a big part of that. And higher rates of self-harm amongst young girls and more rates of isolation and depression amongst young boys. And so I wanted to partner up with Hallow because I want to put some good stuff on that phone. I think, like, phones aren't going anywhere. It's this umbrella under which we gather all this data, and it helps us with navigation and communication and organization and shopping and entertainment and taking photos. Like it's not like we're gonna turn into. I'm not gonna go Amish and like just throw my phone down the toilet. Although it'd probably be a good thing to do, but I'm not gonna do that. So it's important to like understand that underneath that umbrella, there's junk food and then there's soul food. And so something like the Hallow app is like, hey, if you're going to spend half an hour on your phone, do this. This is a way to foster your relationship with Jesus. So like the phone doesn't have to be bad. It's just what are we doing with it? And that's why I wanted to work with Hallow.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you stay grounded in your faith when your life is so busy? You're always doing something cool. And have you always been a Christian, or what was the moment where you were like, okay, God is real to me?
Well, it's a two-part question. So the way I stay grounded in my faith is just through it's a practice. It's a spiritual practice. So prayer, and being in the Gospels. And so, finding a way to incorporate the gospel in my life, whether it be the Hallow app. I also have my friend and pastor Judah Smith has got the Church Home app. I use that a lot. I think using my phone a lot to listen to gospels and meditations and just it's giving my first fruits every morning. So like waking up in the morning and praying. And I'm a part of a men's group, a Christian men's group. So we're praying for each other like through the course of the week. We have like a prayer agenda. We know what we're praying for. So staying rooted in that with my community and with my friends is the first part of the to answer that, how I stayed grounded. The second part, have I always been a Christian? I've always known God was real, without a doubt. I've never questioned my faith. But it's almost like that the sun is real, and sun, like in the sky, it's there. And then some days are foggy, and you're like, is that sun ever going to come out? And you kind of forget that the sun is, you know. So like I've had a lot of foggy seasons in my life from a young age all the way through. And so when I really first gave my heart, the first time I walked up to the a church altar and got on my knees and cried, I was a child. And then the next time I did it, I was still a child, I was 19. And then the next time I did it, I was in my 30s. And the biggest, most profound, impacting moment where I really negotiated with God and made promises, because before I'd made promises, but I didn't keep them. I said, God, save me in this moment and I'll give you my life. And then he did. And I was the unburdened from the weight of my shame or my guilt or my sin. And then relatively moments later, maybe a year later, 2 years later, I'm off doing the same stuff that was got me in there, and it got me down the wrong path in the first place. Sinful, broken nature of humans, just like living in my heart. And then with my son was born, we were really had a health scare with him because he was born very early, and it was only 3 pounds, and we were in this like real. He was in the NICU for a month, and he had all of these issues going on, and I prayed hard to God, and I was in a season of transition spiritually at that time, and didn't quite fully understand. I made deals with God, and again, I'm sorry, God, here I am again, asking for your grace again. And he really saved my son, and that was the moment I was like, now it's cemented. Like the cement was always a little way. The cement my heart softened and my faith hardened, and that was the moment that I was like, moving forward, I'm going to give my platform to God. And I haven't always been perfect. Like I'm not saying from that moment on I was perfect. I'm not, but I have made a commitment and continue to stick to that commitment that this platform was given to me for a reason, and I want to affirm the people who are believers in Christ. I want them to hear me and say like, "Wow, that's cool." He's willing to say it. I'm going to stand up at work today and say it. I want it to both affirm that and also reach out to people who have no idea what that God is real or have never heard about it. I want to kind of like be a little bit of light to people who've never seen light, and I want to be a light to people who have seen light but turned away from it or been afraid of it. That's
Yeah.
a long two answers to your two questions, but there you go.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah. What is your response to maybe Christians who will criticize you for content that maybe they don't approve of? And on the other hand, people in the secular world who have a problem with you being outspoken about your faith. How do you deal with some of that?
It's I think it's Proverbs 26:20. That's the one I was trying to get. That's what I was getting. Proverbs 26:20. For lack of wood, the fire will go out, and where there is no whisperer, quarreling ceases. I always rely on that because I have gotten a lot of pushback from the secular world, And I do periodically get pushback from within the Christian world. It's just a human thing. I would just say I kind of am not going to respond to it. I think you can't really put out fire with a can of gasoline. Like someone might call me out and say X, Y, and Z. Who knows? Like I wouldn't even know that person's opinion if I didn't have a phone in my pocket whispering it to me. I never have someone come up to me from the secular world and say, "Hey, Chris, I want to have a conversation with you about your belief in something. I don't really see where you're coming from, and it offends me." I've never had someone say that to my face. I've never had a Christian person walk up to me and say, "Hey, Chris, you call yourself a Christian. You're doing Hallow. That's a Catholic app. What do you feel about the Catholic Church versus the Christian Church, or the Protestants versus the Catholics, or what do you think about?" No one ever brings that up to me in person. It's really easy to post something. What we even though it's like a fart in the wind, it just disappears from these people's phones. They don't think about it, but it is etched in digital stone. And so we have to be really careful with our words. It says in the gospel, the tongue is like the most dangerous weapon. And just because you're putting it in your phone doesn't mean you're not speaking it. So when I hear words or see words, inevitably there's going to be blowback, and I'm sure there's going to be blowback from this. And I'm just going to have to kind of rely on God, understand my instinct to do it. I was called by God to do it. And if people don't understand me, I'm going to pray for them. And then that's it. And then I'm going to let it go. And then I'm going to go back and hang out with my kids and play tag and play hide and seek. And I can't let it bother me. I can't. And there's not enough time in the day to take into consideration the thoughts of there's 8.5 billion people on this planet. Some God softens some of their hearts. He hardens some of their hearts. It's my job to be a light and to focus on what's important to me. And right now, what's important to me is talking about Jesus on this interview with you.
I love it. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your boldness. You have such a powerful voice, and so many young men, especially, including my son, look up to you. So
Amazing.
it's encouraging to see somebody that is on fire for God, and I can tell that you are. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's great talking to you.
Great to talk to you too. I hope we get to meet in person one day.
Yeah, that'd be great. Tell Judah I say hello, and the other three as well, Leah. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much, Chris. It was so nice to meet you.
You too.
God
Bye.
bless.
God bless you.